Mr. Barry,
Mr. Mike?
and welcome back to Of Course It Makes Sense. In our videos that we've done up to this point, it's basically you and I having conversation, and I would say for the most part you and I are in agreement on a lot of things. Now,
I don't think so.
you don't think so? Well, then we're done. Anyway, in today's society, there is so much dissension in conversation. Like I find when I watch, like you can go to any YouTube channel, or any like news feed channel, people aren't talking anymore. They're screaming at each other, and I know, I do this often every day. I will reference Monty Python quite often.
Mm-hmm.
And have you ever seen the argument sketch?
Probably.
Probably.
I can't say
But
that.
there's a line from the argument sketch that an argument is an intellectual conversation intended to establish a proposition. And it's like I said before, I know I touched on this in a previous video, that I've talked to my kids about, if you're going to debate somebody, you have to understand both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
You have to know what the other person's talking about. But whether you agree with them or not, at what point have we lost civility? When did people find it was more important to try and be louder in a conversation or in an argument than it was to be open-minded?
And I think people lose sight of and I wouldn't, argument is probably too harsh, but I guess maybe that's what a lot of things turn out to be, are arguments, because they start yelling and screaming at each other without listening to the other person. But if you can get into like a discussion where one person, civilly explains his point of view, and the other person does the same, and then you can maybe make a mutual agreement to meet halfway. Whatever, you don't know what it is, you don't know what the subject is, but I mean, if it's somebody wants to go here and this other person wants to go there, then maybe you should go, there, or you can go there and there.
I've said this
two different occasions.
I've said this to my oldest son many times, especially like when he was growing up, that I almost wish there had been a debate club that he could have been a part of, because he understands the value of discussing the topic. Where he's matured an awful lot, he will listen to your point of view, but at the same time he educates himself before he gets into a discussion. He's very well versed that way, and I've seen, and again, going back to like what they said in the Monty Python sketch, an argument is an intellectual process. Contradiction is the automatic gainsaying of something the other person says, and where if you're going to have an actual conversation or debate, you're going to have a contradictory approach. But the part that has confused me is like, why has it all of a sudden just turned into shoving matches? Like I know that's a pretty broad topic, and there's a lot of facets that we could touch on here. But
Well, a lot of times when people start shouting, it's because they don't know what the other side is saying. They don't understand what the other side is about. They're not even going to try to understand it. They're just going to try to shut them down.
Yeah, and I know
and that's when an intelligent person will just walk away.
and again, and that's always hard to do so.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
because I think as humans, like, we have a tendency to want to believe that we're right.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, for a lot of us, like myself included, it's hard when somebody proves you wrong. Sometimes you got to like swallow a little bit of crow, eat some crow, and just admit that you're wrong. But like people nowadays, it's almost like a form of weakness for people to admit that they're wrong.
Yeah, more so for a man than for a woman, I guess. I guess it's the masculinity part of it. I'm the boss type of an attitude. I think things are changing, though. I mean, our society is not anything like it was when we were growing up. There was a basic structure. You had the father who was the head of the family, went to work, mother stayed home, looked after the children, basically had supper ready for when father came home. And that was brief, structure, how things were structured. Now, more often than not, both parents are working, kids are on their own by the time they're 8 years old,
Unfortunately, yeah.
you know? They come home, you know, their mother may leave something on the table for breakfast, you know? And the kids come home from school at what, 4 o'clock or whatever time it might be, and they're on their own until their parents come home and make supper or whatever. Some people will have a neighbor come over and look after the kids for supper, get them started or whatever, but it's a completely different thing. You know, a lot of people now communicate with notes on the fridge.
That's true, that's
You know,
true.
they leave a note.
Like,
You know,
I know
I'm
we
not
talked,
going to see Mom. I'm going to bed right now. Mom's not home. Or Mom and Dad went to the movies or whatever. I'll leave a note on the fridge and tell them.
do you think that, when you look at today's society, and especially too, like a lot of, like, you know, I don't even wanna say just the younger generation, like, people are losing the ability to communicate well because like, a lot of people are only communicating like via text message and emails.
And well, that's okay to communicate through text messages and emails because you can say it, and you can see it, and you have time to change it. Okay, if you're thinking, you know. But when you're talking with the headphones and you're playing a game and you're not seeing who you're talking to,
Yeah.
I mean, I hear it when my son is on the phone, or not on the phone, but playing the game. He doesn't play very often anymore. I asked him, why, how come you're not playing? He says, just don't have the feeling for it anymore.
Too many arguments?
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but that, you know, when you can't see somebody face to face, you can get away with a lot. And especially when you're, you know, you're wherever you are, planet X, and someone else is 600 million miles away, you know, and you don't know who they are, and you don't know what they look like or anything like that. People talk to themselves or talk to each other a lot differently than if they were sitting like you and I.
Like face to face.
You know, because they know that if they did that to somebody who was sitting right there, they would likely have somebody get up and slap them silly. You know?
Yeah. No,
And they would be within their rights to do that, you know? Because if you insult people the way I've heard it, just playing these games, and you know, they may not mean it, they might be joking, they might be, you know, just having a good time and whatever, but it sure doesn't seem like it, you know, not the way he gets all upset.
But and again, I know we've talked about this before, the face-to-face interaction, like actually being like in the physical presence of someone, you almost, I don't wanna say you'd be putting your guard up, like, and I do know of many examples of people getting into online, I don't even wanna call them discussions, but they're online shouting matches. Like you can, if you wanted to go down a rabbit hole and just look at some of these like people, they don't know each other, they'll never see each other, and they're just like rabidly fighting through a computer screen. Yeah. And it's the ability to, like, when you're face to face with somebody, like to have that conversation, and there's a level of humanity and civility where you can disagree and not shout at the other person.
Yeah, and well, I guess, like I said, the internet has changed all of that, where people can say and do anything they want, you know,
and get away
with it. That's why, you know, but I mean, you could still be on Zoom or whatever and still see people and do it, but your chances of seeing the people that you're talking to, it's not like you're talking to your neighbor, where you're going to see them the next day and say, oh boy, I'm so really sorry, you know, you can apologize and whatever, but these people you're never going to see again, so you don't even think about apologizing.
Because you don't care.
No, but to get back to your point on talking about being a debater and stuff like that, that's one of the first things you learn as a debater is to know the other side. You know, get to know what their points are and have an answer for it.
Yeah, a rebuttal.
Yeah, and in order to win the debate, and that's what it is. You've got a judge or judges that are sitting down, a panel of judges sitting down there. They're going to be grading you on your answers and your questions and how things are going as far as the debate is and who's going to win the debate.
Mhm.
But arguments are not like that. Arguments are, I'm right, no, I'm right, you know, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And there's no listening involved, it's just shouting and yelling and screaming, and
Mhm.
whoever yells and shouts and screams the loudest is the winner.
Well, they
Or
declare
they seem to
themselves a
think,
winner,
yeah, they seem to think so, until, you know, somebody
I-
grabs a rock and hits the other one in the forehead with it, you know.
I'm remembering a quote.
Go back to the caveman days.
I'm remembering a quote, I'm gonna paraphrase it, and I think this goes back, like, if I'm not mistaken, it was Abraham Lincoln. And the quote goes something like this: "Every man is my superior in that I learned something of him." And when you engage someone in a debate or in an argument, you may not agree, but you're gonna learn something, and you're gonna take something away from that. And it's just that open-ended conversation to have with somebody where you can like walk away gaining something and learning from somebody else. You may not practice it, you may not agree with it, but at the same time, you're gonna walk away from that person learning something.
Hopefully you do, but hopefully the other person learns too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, and
Learns
again,
what,
it's
you
a
know,
reciprocating.
what you're trying to learn, and you may not settle anything, you know?
Mhm.
You won't walk away still thinking the same as you did before, but at least you know that there's another opinion out there.
Well, and again, too, like another quote, any man convinced against his will is of his same opinion still.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't remember who said that, but it just popped into my head as well.
yeah, well,
But it's the value of actually having that conversation where you can talk with somebody, be in disagreement, but still remain civil.
oh yeah, I mean, that's what every not argument, but every debate or every difference of opinion
Mm-hmm.
is how it should be settled.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, but some of them end up in court, you know, but those are the legal things anyway. But to be civil and to act, because I mean, you know, we are supposedly the #1 species on this earth.
The top of the food chain?
You know, yeah, but you know, but
Apparently, yeah.
Are we? I mean, sometimes we don't act any better than the monkeys, you know? We
Well-
don't, I mean, you see them scrapping for a banana. By the way, have you ever seen a monkey eat a banana?
From the bottom up?
Yeah, they leave that stem and
Mhm.
they turn it upside down and eat it.
Yeah.
I do that. Get back to my roots.
Yeah. You learned. You
Yeah,
learned.
yeah. Had a long discussion with a monkey. I didn't agree with him at first. But he changed my mind.
Well, and that's the point of a conversation.
Yeah.
Like to learn from somebody else. Well, I know we could go on again and blather and continue our conversation, but I think this has been a short but sweet.
It's time to go again.
Yeah.
We need a song that we sing at the end of these things.
You mean like Wayne and Schuster?
Well, I don't know about that. Wayne and Schuster. Do you remember Wayne and
I
Schuster?
remember Wayne and Schuster.
Yeah.
I remember the song too, but I'm not gonna sing it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna sing it. Anyways, we'll do a song maybe in a future episode, but for now, of course it makes sense. I'm Mike.
And I'm Barry.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.